Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And it's Oscar season, so it's time to talk about the Oscars. And joining me for this special episode where we go through and tell you what we want to win is my buddy Heath. He is SiftPop writer. A he is a podcaster. He is a connoisseur of Letterboxd and specifically the Oscars. So perfect guest for a perfect occasion. Heath, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So basically, what we're going to be doing here on this YouTube video for you is we're going to go through each of the categories Oscar style, which if you haven't looked at the Oscars website and how they organize these categories, go have some fun because it's stupid. But we're going to go through category by category. So Heath, at this point, are there any like big like missing pieces in terms of what you haven't seen at this point?
Um, there are big, big missing pieces that will play into the dominant categories. No, I've seen all the big players. Um, in total I've seen 45 of the 53 nominated films. That's good for 84% of them according to Letterboxd. The main ones I'm missing are a couple of uh things mainly for foreign international pictures, and it's
Mhm.
mainly just because they're not available where I am. I'm missing cinematography, makeup, and I'm also missing animated. Robot Dreams is not available anywhere for me, and then I'm also missing a documentary. Pretty much everything I'm missing, other than Golda and El Condi, which I'll try to get to them. I don't know if I'm going to, but seeing as I don't think they have much chance, I'm not prioritizing them. Uh,
Fair.
but but the main ones I want to see are like Io Capitano, and Perfect Days, Robot Dreams, To Kill a Tiger. Those are strictly because they're not available. But in terms of the big stuff, yeah, I've all the big stuff's in the bag. I've seen them, and I'm ready to go. Even all the shorts are done for me.
At least they make that a little easier for us to actually see because like I
Hmm.
know I went to the theater and saw all the animated shorts. Made that easier. I had some creative ways that I found
Yeah.
to watch To Kill a Tiger. I'm gonna leave it at that. And
Are
well, not even technically that.
mm,
I guess
gotcha.
I magically was somewhere else.
Oh,
I don't.
I am. Yep, I understand that. Closely related to R.
Yeah. And then I literally just saw Io Capitano last night because
Oh,
it
okay.
came out in Philly this weekend. And then Robot Dreams is a jerk and doesn't want to be anywhere near
The
anybody.
last report I saw is that they're not even going to release it in the Americas, legally release it in the
May.
Americas until like May, which is
May.
insane. I don't, I
It shouldn't have been
frankly, I think
qualified.
the Academy should do something about this. It feels like worse and worse every year. Your film, I know for legalities, for the nomination purposes, has to premiere in the year cut off, December 31st. That's fine. You want to do your limited release thing. Some films need that to build proper word of mouth, to get the funding, to have wider releases. That is fine. But they should make a rule like 2 weeks before the Oscars, your film should be available. I don't care if it's still in theaters or it's for streaming or whatever, but it should be available. Robot Dreams has been a festival film, and unless you are sailing the seven seas or you know someone that got a screener because they are a part of the academy and they get to vote, there's literally no way you can see this. It is impossible. And I think that's ridiculous, especially because I mean, I'm looking at dates here. Yeah, it's like Germany's not even getting it till May. Italy gets it in April. The UK and Ireland get it at the end of March after the and even for the producers of the film, I don't know why they'd want to do that because like this is going to be your moment. This is going to be your shining moment to capitalize where you could potentially get more eyes on it, get more money uh to make up any of the production costs because this is where it's going to be hyped. After the awards, unless they're diehard cinephiles like you and I are that really enjoy kind of going into the history of film, a lot of people are going to move on. They're not going to care. Like you're missing out on the like 2 month period of January to March where people are going to be have eyeballs on stuff like this.
And there's less big movies too taking up space,
Yeah.
and that's just going to completely change once Dune comes out.
Yeah. And
And
I'm sure
then
Robot Dreams is good, but yeah, like when it gets to May and it's like summer blockbuster season, people are going to move on. Like this was your chance to strike. You know what comes out in January or February? Virtually nothing. This
yeah,
was your time.
which I was messaging Foster and Rowan this morning about the film forum in the Village in New York, and they have it Tuesday night next week.
Oh,
And it's already sold out because Foster tried to get tickets. It's one showing with the director, and
wow.
I'm like, wow. Well, I'll eventually see it, I guess, in May.
Yep.
But, we did our best. We really did.
Yep.
Let's get things started. And starting off is actor in a leading role. We got Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Killian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. So, Heath, which one do you want to win this category?
Do I want to win? Paul Giamatti. I really want Paul Giamatti to win. Um, there are a couple that I think are in contention that I would be happy winning.
Mm-hmm.
To be clear, there are multiple people here that'd be like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm cool. I'm happy with it no matter what. But the one I want is Paul Giamatti. I think he's just doing a little bit more. Something about that character, despite him being a curmudgeon, is it just makes it so wholesome and lovable by the end. And of those, I think he's the most memorable. Like that kind of goes with the movie as a whole. I can see myself like rewatching that like annually around the holiday season,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of the equation. But to me, he's a big part of why I would want to rewatch it. And also just Giamatti's had one hell of a career, and I want to see him get recognized. I really do.
This one's a particularly hard one for me, and it's 100%. Well, I really, really love Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction, but
Yes.
this is really a tough two-horse race for me because ever since Oppenheimer came out, I'm like, I want Cillian Murphy to win this Oscar. And then The
Yep.
Holdovers came out, I'm like, and the longer it's been since I watched The Holdovers, I did a whole entire podcast on Real Mental Podcast and went deep dive into this film, just like, you know what? I'm kind of leaning towards Paul Giamatti too.
Yeah.
I want him to win, not because like one, his performance is so dynamic and he's doing so many things with it from physically to emotionally, and just the way he delivers his dialogue is so pitch perfect. And I feel like
His
there's
facial expressions are just
yeah,
so great.
I feel like 4 out of these 5 actors have had really good careers and would deserve some recognition at this moment. Sorry, Bradley Cooper, but like the Oscars love you. You're gonna
Yeah.
you're
You're
gonna be
fine.
you're gonna be
You
fine.
will get it eventually, my man. You will. Just chill.
And like this particular situation, I think I'm gonna agree with you and say Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. I would
Uh,
be completely content
mhm,
with what I think is the inevitable, which is Cillian Murphy winning.
yep,
At least in my mind, I think that he's the front runner at this point, especially after SAG. But
yes,
like and I'll be thrilled. I think he's phenomenal in Oppenheimer. So like it's not one of those where I'll be upset, but my heart is with Giamatti. With the Cooper mention though, not that Bradley Cooper's a bad actor. Brad, I love you. You are a talent. You are great. Even your little stint in Licorice Pizza the other year, hilarious, perfect. But this one just didn't do it for me, man. I'm sorry, it didn't. It's a little too reaching, a little too desperate. Some people don't see it that way. A lot of people do, and I am one of those people. And man, I would have really loved to see Andrew Scott from All of Us Strangers in here instead. I would have even taken Zac Efron from The Iron Claw in here instead. Uh, so
that's also
those
one.
hurt.
I even was shocked that Leo didn't get nominated for Killers, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest. But it is what it is.
Yep.
Maestro got a lot more love than I would have given it from the Academy,
Same.
but it's the Academy, and they do
Yep.
love Bradley Cooper. Hopping into actor in a supporting role, we have Sterling K. Brown from American Fiction, Robert De Niro from Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. From Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling from Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo from Poor Things. This has to be the most stacked category in all the Oscars every year. There's just so many great supporting performances here. But who are you going with? Who do you want to win this one?
For me, this is Downey's time. I want him to win it. I think he will win it. I've talked about this before on my podcast and just with people in general. This is one of those rare moments, one of those really truly rare moments where you have an exceptional performance that is worthy of awarding, and we have the legacy story, and we can do both. And I don't want to miss that moment, and I think we're not going to. It looks like that's clearly going to be the path.
I'm pretty
He's
sure
pretty
he's
much
won
a
literally
lock.
every
Yeah,
single award possible.
yeah, so he's pretty much a lock, but like the idea of him, he was a brat pack, he was an up and comer, he got nominated for Chaplin in the 90s, and then drugs, and then the spiral, and his career was almost shattered. But then he rehabilitated and he comes back and he battles and he does Zodiac, and then he becomes the face of the MCU, and he leads the MCU as Iron Man for a decade plus, and he's nominated for Tropic Thunder, a comedy role of all things. And now here we are, post Iron Man, over a decade and a half since Tropic Thunder already,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gotten his third nomination. And this performance is killer. And I
Yep.
just think this is his time. I think we should reward him for an exceptional performance and for an outstanding career. Give it to Robert Downey Jr.
I think he is the secret weapon of Oppenheimer. And the fact that like he was in the trailer for like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
they even kept him a secret
Mm-hmm.
from the audience because like once you actually see this film and realize what this is really about, he is just so perfect in this.
Oh,
And I when I saw the film, I'm like, he is winning this year.
yeah.
And
I
having
thought the
him,
same thing. Coming out of it, I was like, bare minimum, he's nominated, if not winning. This is his time.
yeah. Which and what's so great though, like in another year, I think it would have been because like I loved Robert De Niro's performance, Killers of the Flower Moon. Probably one of between that and The Irishman, it's his two best performances in the century, which
Yeah.
is probably even since Heat, probably, which
You
has
could
been
make
a
that argument. Yeah.
for
You really
30
could.
years, the past years, but like if this is just perfect storm going on. And good for Sterling K. Brown, Ryan Gosling, and Mark Ruffalo for being absolutely hilarious
Oh,
and getting these Oscar nominations because oh my god, Mark Ruffalo is so funny. And Ryan Gosling
I
in
love
Barbie.
that we're seeing more comedic roles being recognized. Like that's something that's sorely necessary. More genre stuff, more comedy, please. Like these performances take a lot of skill.
Yeah, and I think Sterling K. Brown's like the one in the middle who's like balancing both the drama
Yes.
and comedy the most because like there's nothing funny about what Robert Downey Jr. does in Oppenheimer. It's just like it's an intense,
Hmm.
subtle, and that his character and his performance sneak up on you in that movie is great. Oh, actress in a leading role. No Streep, but we did get Annette Bening for
Ugh.
Naiad. Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Carrie Mulligan for Maestro, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. So where do you stand, Heath?
Before I give you my pick, I'm going to address the naiad in the room, which is to say, Annette Bening is a talent. She is a treasure, and I don't want to take away from her, her career, or even this individual performance. But I was beside myself when this took a nomination slot. And especially with the Barbie of it all, I
Mhm.
I I would give this spot to Margot Robbie in a heartbeat. I would give this to Tiana Taylor for 1001 in a
Mhm.
heartbeat over this Naiad performance. In fact, in Naiad, I don't even think this is the strongest performance. I think Jodie Foster is much better than Annette Bening. Um,
We'll get to that in a minute.
so with that said, it's frustrating, and I understand the Barbie controversy. Please, for those out there, direct your frustration at this pick. It's not Ryan Gosling's fault that he was nominated just because he's Ken. That's a completely different category against completely different opponents, so to speak. You know, like it's
Mhm.
not the same thing. But with that rant aside, to me, this is Lily Gladstone, and it's not even close. Like it's been Lily since I saw Killers, and really like just within like 20 minutes of Killers, I was like, oh no, this is an exceptional. Like what Gladstone is doing here is phenomenal. I think it's truly emotional and powerful work that she's doing. It's moving, it's passionate, it's painful, and I not even just for that performance, but God, wouldn't it be so great to like recognize an Indigenous American person when the Academy has famously never done that at once.
And then to the
And
contrary, really awkwardly. So
exactly. And then
some people made asses of themselves to go out their way
exactly
to
getting into the
disrespect.
John Wayne of it all. So let's, with the history of the Academy, I really hope that, especially again after she won SAG, I really hope it's Lily's year. And especially, and I hate to say this too, but I think it's true, because of Hollywood's, we'll just say prejudices towards the casting of Indigenous American actors in roles that aren't specifically made for Indigenous and American performers, like just having them as regular people. Emma Stone is going to have more opportunities. She's gonna be back here. In fact, she's already won. Like Lily might never make it here again. And I hate to say that, but it's probably, odds are at least that's probably true. So like, damn, let's do the right thing while we have the chance. At least that's my take.
And like I'm taking this all from the fact that like if I had to pick who I thought was the best performance and should win, but there's no denying that that's going to be a special moment if she wins that
Oh,
Oscar.
yeah. Yeah, all of that aside, I still think she's the best performance and should win.
Which that's very fair. When I walked out of Poor Things, I legitimately thought and like that was one of the trickiest, most
Yep,
detailed and complicated acting performances I think I've ever seen. And like there's not to say like the same level of emotion per se as there is in Lily Gladstone's performance, which she's amazing. This is I know I really like Sandra Hüller as well, but like this is a two-person race. Like that's
yeah,
there's no chance. I was blown away by what Emma Stone did in Poor Things. The amount of detail from slowly scene to scene, completely changing her physicality throughout the whole thing, and how it's gonna sound so stupid. How unbelievable, believably she performed as a baby.
yeah.
Like, like my wife who works with a lot of kids with autism that are like little kids and stuff like that. She was just sitting there like she's acting like an actual child, and it's so believable and it's crazy. My pick would be Emma Stone, but
Totally fair.
it's going to be a wonderful moment if Lily Gladstone gets it because that you're 100% right. I don't know if Lily Gladstone's ever going to get this opportunity again. This is feeling very much like Anthony Hopkins and Chadwick Boseman,
Yeah,
where it's just like
without the death. But yeah.
because yeah, obviously that was a lot more complicated. And
Yes.
we're not going to get into the producing of that show and some dumb choices they made.
Dumb, really dumb.
Dumb. There a whole we
You
could
wouldn't
have a
think it
whole
would have
entire
to be a
video.
rule that Best Picture should be done last, but apparently that needs to be made a rule that Best Picture should be done last.
That was dumb. Even like that's just even like a small part of it.
Oh yeah,
Like there's like a compounding of like 10 things that cause that to be a complete shit show.
yeah,
But I'll be very happy if Lily Gladstone gets up there and wins. And honestly, after the SAG Awards, she
yeah.
might be. So we'll
I mean,
have to see.
they split because she got SAG, and although Golden Globes is not really the predictor precursor like it
Yeah.
used to be, but still she got the Globe. But then Emma got BAFTA, and I think she
Mhm.
got critics, correct?
I think so.
So
So it's anybody's game.
yep.
Actress in a supporting role. I would bet my life on this Oscar. But that's not what we're doing here. We have nominees: Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple. Just side note, I wish Color Purple got more appreciation, but that's just a side note. America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. So, Heath, what are your thoughts?
I would bet my mortgage. I would bet every single thing I own that this is going to, and deservedly going to, Divine Joy Randolph. This might be the biggest lock I've ever seen in the history of the Oscars, or at least it's up there in the conversation since I've been following the Oscars, which is about since the mid 90s. So this is, I, I don't even know if I have anything to add to the conversation. She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Her performance is intricate, it's layered, it's resonant, and she's deserved every accolade she's received so far, which is fucking all of them.
Yeah,
and,
all of them.
and she's gonna get this one too.
I walked out of the Holdovers. I'm like, she's winning an Oscar. That's
Yep.
not even a question. And to be frank, if you asked me cold to name the other nominees, I don't know if I would have been able to name all four of them. Uh,
I would for sure remember Emily Blunt, and outside of that, yeah, you and
the
not
only
even that
reason I
they're
would
bad
remember America
performances.
Ferrera is
Yeah,
because all the discourse about Barbie.
sure,
But
fair.
like, no, like this is her award, and she 100% deserves it. That
Yeah.
one that was so good. Oh, the animated feature film award. I have I have some feelings about the well, we obviously have some feelings about the nominees, but we have The Boy and the Heron, we have Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So Heath, what are your thoughts?
None of them. I I so
Oh
here's the
yes, now I'm real. I'm remembering.
you remember now, it's coming to your head. So here's the thing. When it comes to my official prediction, this is really easy. Um, but the thing is, every single film that's nominated, either A, I haven't seen it, or B, I thought it was just fine, middlingly average film, or C, it was a just fine film that I could at least respect. None of these dazzled me. None of these are films that like I would be excited to rewatch. And that's a shame. Like Nimona and Boy and the Heron, I respect the hell out of them, but I'm not excited to go back and ever watch them again. Uh, Robot Dreams, I haven't seen. Elemental, I think it's here because it's Pixar. If I'm
It
being,
should have been Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm getting there, sir. Hold on, hold your horses. And then famously, I don't know how famously, but if you know me and you know my letterboxd, Spider-Man Across
Oh,
the
I do.
Spider-Verse, I gave 3 out of 5 stars, which is not a bad review or a bad score in the grand scheme of things. But if you tell that to a Spider-Man Spider-Verse fan, I might as well be the devil. And I've gotten so many comments, long, visceral, like ranting comments where I've had to go back and rant and defend my position. And it just comes down to it's not a complete story. It's not a complete film. It doesn't even satisfy a lot of what it's doing. And then it starts a whole nother movie, but then cuts it off 15 to 20 minutes in. And I just have so many problems with the character decisions and so many things that it kind of baffles me that Across the Spider-Verse is beloved as much as it is. Not that it's bad. It's just, it has a lot of problems. And so for me, this year's, and I love animated films. God, it's so frustrating. This is usually one of my favorite categories. To me, the best was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's not even close. I would abstaining from Robot Dreams because I haven't seen it. I would slot this in over Elemental from these nominees in a heartbeat. Like
Hmm.
it's not even a question to me. And I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is the best animated film of the year, and it's a shame that it's not nominated. With that said, my rant done. I will go with The Boy and the Heron because at least that's the one that I respect the most. And I think Miyazaki is a talent, a treasure. He hasn't won an Oscar since Spirited Away. That was
Hmm.
over 2 decades ago at
Literally
this
the
point.
second one.
Yeah, and this might be his last real chance. Who knows if he keeps making movies, and if he does he make them this well again that get him this kind of recognition or acclaim that he's at this point again? I I suspect it's going to go to Spider-Man. But my the what of these, what I would want is The Boy and the Heron.
Um, Mine is The Boy and the Heron because I absolutely love this film. This was one of my top 10 films of the year. But
Nice.
this is a two-horse race, and
Yes.
it's either going to come down to, are they going to show some love for Miyazaki or go along with everybody else that
The
absolutely
consensus.
love,
Yeah.
which, like, I also really, really loved Across the Spider-Verse, but I will agree, at least The Boy and the Heron had an ending. So, which also Elemental should not be, this should not be sniffing anyone.
Yeah.
You're a nominee for this, and yet it's a real shame Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't get
It
nominated
really
for this.
is.
And I hope I Love Robot Dreams when I see it in a couple months.
Same. I think I love it. Everyone seems to love it, but I don't know. I can't see it for almost a quarter of a year still.
I wouldn't know because I'm not going to be seeing it anytime soon. Um, Cinematography. This honestly is my favorite Oscar because
Oh,
it
nice.
is. I just love cinematography and how the camera works, and it is a
Sure.
visual medium. We have El Conde from. Should really have my glasses. Edward Lockman. We have Killers of the Flower Moon from Rodrigo Prieto. Maestro from Matthew Libatique. Oppenheimer from Hoyt van Hoytema, and Poor Things from Robbie Ryan. Heath, what are your thoughts?
I actually really like this category. I'm happy with all these nominees. Again, I haven't seen El Conde, so I abstain from that one. There's a
It is
couple
a
others,
beautiful looking film.
and I've heard that.
Mhm.
There's a couple other films this year that could have been in this contingent because there was actually a lot of great cinematography this past year.
I have a
Uh,
very strong feeling that I'm going to share in a minute, but go ahead.
so this is and I think that speaks to the strength of this year. I think 2023 really was one of the best years we've had in film in a long time. With all that said, I'd be happy with pretty much everyone. No, like not pretty much. I would be happy with everyone. Like
Mhm.
literally whoever wins, great, good for them. I'm personally pulling for Hoyt. I think Oppenheimer should be the winner. I think it's just doing a little bit more, especially in relation to the perspective changes, the black and white, old school dynamic of Robert Downey Jr.'s perspective
Mhm.
versus Killian Murphy's being full of color and life and detail. But even some of Killian's perspective is sometimes a muted colored palette
Mm.
when it gets into kind of the darker and grimier elements of his past. I think those are really deliberate choices, very distinct and important choices that affect the audience in a profound way. So for me, Oppenheimer is the winner, but literally anyone who wins this, fantastic job.
I just want to shout out Dan Laustsen, who I believe got recognized for Shape of Water, but he has also shot at least the last three John Wick films. And you look at John Wick Chapter 4, that is a freaking gorgeous film. And
Yes.
if it could have been nominated for any actual Oscar, not stunt work that doesn't exist yet,
Don't
which
set me off on a rant of
I'm
categories that
stopping it
should
right now. We're not
exist.
actually getting in that conversation. But I would have loved for him to get recognized for that
Yeah.
film. But out of these options, I'm splitting this in score. I'll get to that later. I would give this to Hoytema just because, like, I think Killers of the Flower Moon is a gorgeous film, but Oppenheimer's a really complicated visual film.
Yes.
Like, it's one of those things, it's like Poor Things and Killers of the Flower Moon have great, very consistent visuals throughout. What they're doing in Oppenheimer is really complicated, and every section looks gorgeous.
Yes.
And it feels like it's a different level. And it also didn't feel like it was trying too hard, like Maestro. Sorry.
I love the subtle ragging we're doing on Maestro this whole time. This is great.
I would replace Lee Batik, who is a very talented cinematographer, with Lausen if I had a choice, but that's not what we're doing here. So, costume design. We have Barbie, we have Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon. If you asked me 6 months, about a year ago, how many Oscar nominations Napoleon would have, it'd be a lot.
Yes.
It didn't
Before
turn
you'd
out
seen the
that way.
movie? Yeah.
And then, can you imagine if Dune actually came out last year? This would be
The greatest year in the history of film. Holy crap.
Crazy. But no, so we got Napoleon, we have Oppenheimer, we have Poor Thing. So Heath, costume design.
It's so funny. Just to continue on the Napoleon thing that you mentioned that, I remember being like halfway through the movie and they're doing like the coronation ceremony, and I'm just like, God, this movie's been disappointing. But these costumes are freaking amazing. This will
Right.
totally be nominated for best costumes, and it will deserve it. Um,
All of these are very deserving
oh yeah,
because
yeah. Again,
either they really captured a period extremely well or they're bonkers.
they were really creative and original.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Again, another category where I think everything here is deserved. I
Mhm.
don't have a problem with anything, and I'd be cool with whoever wins. I would have liked to have seen some spice, like seeing the color purple in here would have been great, or seeing Wonka would have been great. But literally, I'm fine with everything that's
Mhm.
here, so I'm cool with it. I'm picking Barbie. I think, and this is not the only category I will make this statement, but this is just the first. I think this is like they put Barbie toys in an enlarging machine and they just came to life. Like these are just the outfits that Barbie wore real. And it's
And it worked.
impressive to me that they made them look fashionable, that they made them look attractive, that they made them look appealing and actually like work for a variety of different body styles and types and with a variety of different fashions, all the way from like the straight suits of the Mattels to the 80s rollerblade stuff when they first get to California, or the cowboy outfits, or all the variety of costumes in Barbie Land. Like it's just so creative. They're doing so much here. And I think that task of all the different looks they had to go for is just a bigger ask than all the other films had to do, especially because a lot of these films are pulling from real life. And like as impressive as Napoleon is, or as Oppenheimer is, or as Killers of the Flower Moon is, you have reference points of
Mhm.
real life clothing from these eras. These are toys that you're
Little
pulling from,
toy
and a lot
toy
of them they've
clothes.
had to make up still on the spot. So, uh, to me, Barbie, I think the actual closest next to it would be Poor Things, because I think Poor Things also gets really creative and original. But for me, I'm going Barbie.
Yeah, similar to the last one for cinematography. Like, I love Poor Things, and I think the two weird ones are the most fun options in this category.
Yeah,
Um, like Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon are so great in capturing their time period, but they're probably the least interesting actual outfits. The
yeah,
Napoleon stuff is like it's historically accurate and like really obnoxious at times. And that steampunk retro futuristic whatever the hell they're
yeah.
doing in
Steampunk
Poor Thing.
Victorian kind of thing.
Yeah, but Barbie is that complicated because it isn't like Poor Things has a consistent kind of costuming throughout. Like to your point, Barbie is complicated. They're doing all kinds of different things with all
Yeah.
different kinds of styles and stuff like that. So I hope Barbie gets that one.
Hmm.
Directing, aka
I
the
don't
Christopher
understand
Nolan
the order
Award.
on this website.
um Justine Triet for Anatomy of the Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. I'm just throwing this out here real quick. Back to what if Dune happened?
Oh my God.
Because like you have Scorsese doing one of his best efforts ever in terms of directing a film. You have Yorgos Lanthimos who might have like had his peak, and Zone of Interest is like
Zone
direct.
of Interest had to be here. Had
Yeah,
to be here.
and Anatomy of Fall such a great film, and they didn't even have Greta Gerwig.
I know Greta's not even here, and it's tragic. And if Denis was snubbed again for Dune,
if
I
if
almost
he
wonder in hindsight, like I know that the strikes happened. I know that's what they planned, but I almost wonder if they're like, you know what? This year's getting freaking stacked. If we move this to next year, we might do better at awards.
we're
Because
gonna
like I'm
clean
sure
up.
they would have still cleaned up in like technicals like they did a couple years ago. But like,
Well, it would have been a hard fight because you have
yeah,
Oppenheimer, The Flower Moon, and Poor Things
I
to
know.
compete with. So
It
no,
and so
it
now
all
it's
worked
just
out
like
for Dune.
yeah, now 2024 they can have the year of Dune and it'll be fine.
And the box office has been dead for 2 months.
Yes,
Dune's gonna
no one is
blow
seeing
up.
movies. No one
So
is seeing anything. This is going to instantly become the number one movie of the year in 3 days.
yeah,
Like, and it's not going to be close because the number one movie right now, I think, is Mean Girls with 72 million, and the Bob Marley movie has 71 million. This thing is going to clear 150 to 200 million opening weekend. This is not going to be a fight.
no. I'm just saying this now. This is the Christopher Nolan Award.
Oh yeah, I
Finally,
forgot what we're even talking about. Yeah, Nolan wins.
moving on.
Nolan wins, and I want him to win. It's his
Yep.
time. He's earned it. I know there's a stigma around film bro attitude and all that, but you know what? People love him for a reason, and he has truly made inventive, creative, original stuff. He's been working in the industry for over a quarter of a century. He's made Best Picture nominated films, some of the most beloved films of all time, especially in the last like 15 years. It's his time. This is his magnum opus. Let's give
Mm.
it to him.
He legitimately probably could have been nominated for directing for literally every single movie that he made.
Yeah.
Well, maybe except Insomnia. And probably like maybe not
Following.
that big. What once you hit like prestige on, it's just like
I
it's
mean, yeah, I would say from The Dark Knight, the only thing I wouldn't not like have him in the conversation for is The Dark Knight Rises. Like you could
fair.
do Dark Knight, Prestige, skip Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, or I
Inception.
mean, no, Inception, Interstellar, uh,
He did get
Dunkirk.
nominated for Dunkirk.
Yeah, he did get nominated
And
for
I don't
Dunkirk.
get how he didn't get nominated for 10. Oh, did he get nominated? No.
No, he did not. He only got
Which
not.
like
This is only his second nomination. Yeah.
yeah,
So
because like
outside of
in a
Dark Knight
weak
Rises
year, how did that
and
not
Tenet,
happen?
you can take those out. But there's like 5 films in the last 15 years he could have been nominated for.
Well, and now for the awards that most of you listening haven't watched these movies.
Yep.
Documentary feature film. We have Bobby Wine, The People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, which nobody has seen. I didn't do anything. 20 Days in Maripol. So, Heath, which one are you going with?
I am going with 20 Days of Miracle. I actually love the documentary feature category. It's one of my sneaky underrated favorite categories every year. I
Hmm.
love documentaries. I haven't seen To Kill a Tiger. It's not available, but I have seen all the others. And to me, this is 20 Days in Miracle, and it's not close. This was a horrifying and powerful, affecting film. I cried multiple times. It was painful to watch. I don't ever want to watch it again, but it's for those very reasons why it's so important and so impactful. And like people need to see this to understand what's really happening and how tragic these events are and how important it is that we fight and do the right things and stand up for the right side and help those that are truly in need. Um, I will be flabbergasted if it doesn't win. It looks like the heavy favorite, but it's definitely what I want to win.
This is probably winning.
Yeah.
Like pretty
Yeah.
strongly. Um, I would just like to make a side comment that looking at these five nominees, they gave this award to the octopus teacher a couple
A
years
couple
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
It's just like
Literally, again, I haven't seen To Kill a Tiger. I would pick all of the others, all four of the others over the octopus teacher.
oh, I
And
would
not,
have picked any of the other documentaries that year.
I
I was
liked the octopus teacher, but that is just such a
movie made me
frick.
feel weird. I'm just like this man has too strong of a connection with this octopus. But my personal pick is Four Daughters. I thought this was
Yeah.
such a creative and interesting and dynamic way they told the story. And it has trauma and it has Islamic extremism in it because the only way you're getting nominated this year is if you had some kind of like extremely heavy topic in it.
Yeah. Are we talking about some kind of political strife or like like loved ones losing themselves to yeah, it's just
This is
these were
this is
traumatic. These were not easy. This was not my octopus teacher. None of
no,
these
this
were
is
easy watches.
like when I thought
Alzheimer's. That's
Won't You
what
Be My
I was thinking
Neighbor
earlier.
should have won
Yeah.
best documentary. It's like, no, this is not that kind of year for
Yeah.
documentaries. But no, the 20 Days in Maribel is definitely winning this one. Documentary short film, The ABCs of Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, The Last Repair Shop, and Nine Nine and WIPO. Winner goes to the most fun one. Definitely last one. But Heath, what are your feelings?
I absolutely love Nine Nine and WIPO. I think that that film is beautiful. It is so funny and so wholesome and heartwarming, and I desperately want it to win. And it's not gonna win, and it frankly pisses me off. Uh, my second favorite that I would like is The Last Repair Shop. I think that film is beautiful as well, how it relates past generations to new generations, the power of music and where it can take people in the world through many different avenues and steps. And look, I know what the favorite is. I know what the front runner is. ABC's of book banning. And you know what? It has a really important message. And I don't deny that for a second. And I love when they actually interview some of these kids and get that perspective. But the film itself kind of plays like a PowerPoint presentation to me, where they just show a book and then they read a snippet of it and then they kind of go to the next book. And they do that like 20 times. And I'm just like, this is this is a PowerPoint presentation that someone could have made in high school or college. This isn't a short film that is worthy of an Oscar. Just because its message is important, we're still grading it as a film, and this is not a good film. So I'm a little annoyed that that's probably going to win, even though I think it's incredibly important. It did not strike me the way Nine Nine WIPO did or The Last Repair Shop. But I know that you're going to come in now and say that you love the ABCs of book banning. So take it away, Shane.
And then I come in and say this movie made me cry. Um, I don't cry
Yeah.
uh often, just generally, and I don't cry during movies. I think I cried twice that I can remember in a movie theater, and one of them was Logan. And there's a
When they
reason
turned
why.
the cross sideways, right?
And then I saw a meme later that also made me cry when I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm going for it. When I saw that meme of when it went back to the Wolverine and was like, you're gonna die with your heart in your hand. And when he dies with his daughter's hand in his, I lost it. I'm like, God. But anyway, the the way that they climax this short film with that woman at that uh like school board meeting, I have a lot of strong feelings
That
about
was really good.
idea of book banning and stuff like that. And this could, well, film subjective, and this hit struck a chord very harshly with me.
Sure.
But and this is my pick, but damn, I loved Nine Nine
Yeah.
too. If if book banning wasn't gonna win, I want that to win. Like I want the two of them to get recognition because
Yep.
I would
Wouldn't they be
watch
just
that.
adorable to go on stage and like talk? They would be like one of the best speeches of the night. They absolutely, especially if one of them farts. Like, please let that happen.
I haven't been so moved by farting in a movie since The Lighthouse. Now, film editing. Anatomy of a Fall. We have The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. So, which one are we going with, Heath?
Again, another one where I'd be fine with any of these winning. Especially, I love Thelma. Always love to see her recognized. I am going with Oppenheimer though, and Jennifer Lame on this one. I think the intercutting of all the different timelines and perspectives, especially as it's layered with some of the audio changes, as we're
Mhm.
hearing parts of one timeline's audio over the visuals of another. It the most impressively to me is the third act when it gets incredibly hyper political and the like backdoor confirmation hearing. I think some of the stuff that's being done there is really damn impressive.
Yep.
And it makes this, it's literally a room barely bigger than some people's walk-in closet. And it's just people sitting at a table talking. And it's the most riveting and captivating thing. One of the most fascinating hours I've ever seen of film in my entire life. It goes by in a blink and it's a whole hour long and you would not know it. It's just incredible. And that's so much of that is because of the pacing and editing that Jennifer puts into that.
No notes. One thing I would like to say on a side note, I have seen people post that no way a 3.5 hour movie should ever be nominated for editing. All I'm gonna
Those people
say
are
is
wrong.
editing isn't just what scenes you cut in and out. Editing's like how you cut between the scenes and stuff like that. I'm like, there's more things to editing than that. Just look at Bohemian Rhapsody, one of the worst edited movies I've ever seen, and somehow won an Oscar. This is what happens when, well, first off, I don't even know how that got nominated, to be perfectly honest, because
Let alone winning.
isn't the editors that nominate it?
Yeah, so
That's how that
each
works, right?
guild or each branch nominates, and then I believe everyone in the academy votes. So
See, I'm not
my
surprised at one because I wouldn't
yes,
be surprised all these other people had no idea what they're talking
exactly. I'm
about.
not surprised that people were like, "Ooh, that Live Aid concert was a ton of fun." Like, I'll vote for that to win. But I'm surprised other editors looked at that and were like, "This is borderline incomprehensible at times. What are we
Yeah,
doing?"
and the scene that they showed
Yeah.
at the ceremony was terrible. But anyway, Oppenheimer was so complex in terms of its editing. I know I think all these films are greatly edited. I don't think any of them comes close to Oppenheimer in terms of how complicated
Yeah.
it came together. So, international feature film, we have Io Capitano from Italy, Perfect Days from Japan, Society of the Snow from Spain, The Teacher's Lounge from Germany, and The Zone of Interest from the UK. Interesting note, there's a lot of big name directors
Yes.
in this category, which they're not the ones that get recognized because it's the countries that win, but like you have like three pretty famous directors in this category. So Heath, what are your thoughts?
Again, this is the one category where my knowledge is truly limited. I've only seen Zone and Society because those are just the ones that have been available near me that I've been able to see. Teachers Lounge just came out near me like a week ago. I haven't gotten the chance to see it yet, and I don't think Perfect Days or Capitano are even available yet. So it's unfortunate because again, like documentary, this is one of my favorite categories to really dive into, and I haven't gotten to this year, which is frustrating. So my knowledge is limited, and I never like to give an opinion on something I haven't seen, so I have to abstain from 60% of this category, which is disappointing. uh of the 40% I have seen, it's actually crazy because I love both of them. In fact, in almost any other year I could see Society of the Snow easily winning this, but to me this is Zone of Interest, and it's not close. Zone of Interest is one of the most impactful, heartbreaking, uncomfortable films I've seen in a long, long time. And I absolutely think it deserves this win. Uh, Hats off to Society of the Snow, because again, any other year, I think you would have deserved to win again of the two I've seen. But Zone is incredibly powerful. And shame on France for not nominating Anatomy of a Fall as your official pick, because at least that would have made this category more interesting because they're both nominated for Best Picture. So this could have been like the Best Actor and Actress of this year, where we really don't know. It's a two horse race. I don't know which one I would have picked. But now that Anatomy of a Fall is not even in the competition, it's like, oh yeah, well, Zone just wins this. Okay, cool.
Not gonna lie, I saw the taste of things and absolutely loved it. It
And I've
blew
heard
me
good things
away.
about it. Sure.
And like Godzilla minus one's a thing.
Yeah.
And
But
this is
Japan picked
tough,
Perfect Days. So
which I would have picked Godzilla minus one. I really
I've
enjoyed
only seen Godzilla.
the
I haven't seen Perfect Days, so I can't compare, but I loved Godzilla minus
so
one.
I've gotten to see all five of these films, two of them within the past week, which is Io Capitano and Perfect Days. Honestly, Perfect Days is probably the lowest for me out of the
Mhm.
five of them, but I still really, really liked it a lot. But I loved The Teacher's Lounge. That was one of the most intense, like, movies that I did not expect, but it's Zone Interest. This is one of
Yeah.
my top 10 films of the year, and it is one of the most uniquely horrifying things I've ever watched. And I just felt like this movie beyond affected me.
Yeah.
Just like sitting there, I'm like, I didn't have this much dread since I finished watching Oppenheimer because
Yeah.
that left me with some existential dread. We got makeup and hairstyling. We have Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow. God, Heath.
Uh, of these, first off, I'm just gonna say I actually wanted Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in here. I actually think that should win. That's not here. Of the ones nominated, I actually want Society of the Snow, which I think is a really smart and underrated nomination for things that you don't think about. It's the nappiness of their hair that you can tell has not been washed for days and
Mm-hmm.
and months. It's the weather burnt and damaged skin. It's the incredibly uncomfortable and painful looking chapped lips that is on everybody. There's a lot of things that this movie is subtly doing with makeup and hairstyling that is really impressive, but they're so subtle that you just don't think about it. You're like, oh, of course they have chapped lips. They've been in the mountains for months. But
Mm-hmm.
like someone put that on them, like whereas the others are a lot more bold and in your face with what they're doing with their makeup choices. And I think the subtlety of Society of the Snow is what really sells it. So that's the one I would really like of these nominations. Um, right behind that would be Poor Things. I think the prosthetics they're doing to Willem Dafoe is phenomenal. Some of Emma Stone's hairstylings are really great. Um, and Mark Ruffalo's mustache, like there's some really cool stuff going on here.
Chef's
Uh,
kiss.
but I I know that Maestro is probably not probably it is going to win this. And it makes me sad because I think there are better things out there, but Maestro is getting all the love in the world. So
This is going to sound very blunt, but we went from fat suit city
yep,
from last year to Jewish nose city
yeah,
this year between Golda and
and
Maestro.
Maestro,
So I was all gung ho Poor Things for this, and I'm still gonna pick Poor Things. But listening to the Franchise Paradiso podcast when you talked about this, I'm like, he almost convinced me not to pick Poor Things. Because like that, like thinking back watching that film, I'm like, yeah, honestly, the all the makeup that they had to do and the hair with everything and making that believable. Those are things you take for granted, honestly, when you
yeah,
watch a survival film like that, and you're just like, wait a minute, that's all up.
yeah,
And that's a thing you forget because it was that good.
yeah. And so I genuinely feel that what Society of the Snow is doing is more impressive here. And I think it deserves to win. I want it to win. I don't think it's going to. And I don't want to just say it's because of the nose, but it is, and it bothers me. I think what they're doing for Bradley when he's older and it's like 1990 right before his death and they have the aging makeup like on his full body, that looks tremendous. That is incredible. But that's there for like a couple minutes on the screen and then it's gone. And so we're
Yeah, they
mostly
really hyped
awarding,
that up
yeah,
for it not being the movie much.
it's like mostly awarding for the hairstyles of Carrie Mulligan and the nose of Bradley Cooper. And I'm just like, that's impressive. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not, but it's just, it reminds me, and I made this joke before too. It reminds me of Ocean's 13 when Matt Damon is so insistent that he wears the fake enlarged nose and he's like, the nose plays. I can make the nose work. And that's just what it felt like to me. It was just like it felt like a gimmick. And I know it's not because that's Leonard Bernstein actually looked like that. And I'm not trying to just to downplay that or be insensitive, but it just feels like we're giving a lot of credit to a prosthetic nose when other films did much more nuanced things. At least for me, they did.
Well, Heath, let's just be honest with the audience. We didn't like Maestro
Yeah,
much.
yeah. There are we keep ragging on Maestro. I feel bad. I don't actually, but there are a couple categories where I think Maestro nominations are deserved. And I even think it is deserved that they got a nomination here. I just
Yes,
don't think they deserve to win. Um,
and it probably is going to win just
and it
because
is going to win. Yeah.
for how it is. But music original score.
Mhm.
So we have American Fiction, we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Heath.
Oppenheimer. End of discussion. Like
You know
this,
how I earlier said I was going to split this
split the
with
difference.
cinematography is I think Robbie Robertson should get this Oscar. And that's the thing. This is a two-horse race too. There's a lot of two-horse races
Yep.
in this Oscars because Ludwig Göransson's score is incredible. But what I love most about the score for Killers of the Flower Moon, it feels different than a lot of scores that you're gonna get from like the Academy because it's not an orchestral kind of score.
Hmm.
The way they use the guitar and everything, I'm like, am I watching a Jim Jarmusch film? But like, and Robbie Robertson, and he's obviously never going to get another opportunity to win anything at this point. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. But like, just the what he's done working with Martin Scorsese since The Last Waltz back in the 70s.
Yeah.
I I do love film scores. I haven't listened to them as much recently, but
I love
the
film scores.
one film score that I've listened to regularly since then is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's
just gonna
very
say
good.
it. Why is well, I know why John
We
Williams
know
is
why
here.
he's there.
But like, come
He's there for the same
on.
reason that Diane Warren is here. Come on. We'll get there. I know. I know.
Oh well, that's next category.
I
So
know. So long story short, I want Oppenheimer to win. I think that Ludwig's score is more visceral, especially when we get into like some of those existential scenes where we're like just seeing sound waves reverberate on the screen, or in the confirmation hearings, or the lead up to the Trinity test, stuff like that. It's very, very powerful, very, especially if you saw it in IMAX, just like deafening, but like in the best way. I would be totally happy if Robbie Robertson won this. I think the Killer's score is great. I think the Poor Things score is very unique as well.
that is the most unique score out of this.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and it's one of those moments where they used it in the trailer too. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then you
Yeah.
watch the movie, I'm like, what? Oh my God. It actually was the
It
score.
works, and it works so well.
It's so
Yeah.
weird. And poor things, because this just got dunked on by Oppenheimer for
Yeah.
so many categories this
Yeah.
year. And can you imagine
And I
how
love you, John Williams, but you shouldn't be here this year. I love you. I love you to death. You were one of
uh,
the probably like the gold standard for film score, but this wasn't it.
it was just Indiana Jones again. And now for music original song, I have the fire inside because Diane Warren keeps getting nominated for this. I'm just Ken. It never went away. Uh God, I'm gonna butcher
I
it.
always think it's pronounced Wazazi. I could be incorrect though, and if I am, I
Scorsese?
apologize. Wazazi.
Uh I guess it does phonetically look like Wazazi, a song for my
It's either
people.
Wazazi or Wazaze.
Yeah.
Again, my apologies. I'm probably doing it
Okay.
incorrectly.
What was I made for? So we got two Barbie, one for American Symphony, one for Killers of the Flower Moon, and Flaming Hot. I'm just gonna say this now. Diane Warren's the bane of my Oscars existence. It makes me cringe every time I see that she takes a nomination.
Takes from other more deserving people is the
You
proper
know what
phraseology.
could have been here that didn't even make the short list? I'm just gonna say
Which
it
one?
now. Didn't make the short list, didn't get a nomination. I'm gonna say it now. I wanted Peaches. I wanted to see Jack Black at the Oscars in his Bowser tuxedo singing this damn song. So those are my very strong feelings. And no, I would have taken literally almost any other original song that was on that short list instead of Diane Warren. It's personal now.
Yeah, and I'll even go so far as to say this to give Diane a little credit. The littlest amount that I think A Fire Inside is at least kind of catchy, and it's better than the past several songs she's been nominated for. It's certainly better than what we got last year for what was it? Tell It Like a Woman
For
or something. What was it
for
called?
was last year 4 Good Days or was
No,
that
the
the
year
year
before that
before?
was Four Good Days. Um, just bad song. So like at least this one's catchy and fun, has like
Mhm.
a Latino flair to it that's interesting, but it still shouldn't be here. Uh, I my pick is What Was I Made For? I think this song is really powerful and very moving. It works so well. I'm also a very big sucker for songs that are actually in the film proper and not just a credit song. If you can
100%.
make it part of the film and have that emotionally resonate, that's really important to me. And I think that should matter more. I think even if it's quote unquote a lesser song, if it's part of the film and it works for the film, that should win. Like that should be the determining factor.
I agree, Heath.
I think while I really love I'm Just Ken, and it's a really fun moment, the emotional breakdown of that film comes in the climax with What Was I Made For, where all the themes of the film come together. And it brought me to tears. It still does when I hear it. It's beautiful. And so yeah, let's give Billy your second Oscar after James Bond a couple years ago. So it's although again, Fire Inside shouldn't have been here. World of Your Own from Wonka should have been here. That song's beautiful.
I 100% agree with that because I said literally of the other possible songs. In a perfect world, for me personally, I was well, first off, I wasn't blown away by American Symphony, the movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice movie. In a perfect world, Dance the Night and Peaches would be here. And I'm generally one that likes to have the more fun songs get
Yeah.
recognized. And my picks, I'm Just Ken. And the fact that they confirmed that he's
The Ryan's
actually
gonna do it.
perfect,
Yeah.
which also I've listened to Dance the Night way too many times since this movie
Yes.
came out. It was my number one on my Spotify Wrapped, so which was unexpected. So
Yeah,
actually, I
I'm
shouldn't
not
have
gonna
won.
lie. In my personal, because I do my own like Heath Bar Oscars on Letterboxd. I haven't published it yet because again, I might still see a couple of these before. I still got a couple weeks. Um, but as of right now, my if I had it, I would have Dance the Night from Barbie. I'm Just Kim from Barbie. What Was I Made For from Barbie? A World of Your Own from Wonka, and my fifth, sorry, Peaches. It's not Peaches. I would actually do Steal the Show from Elemental. I think that like kind of pop song with like the kind of Indian roots in the musical score is really, really fascinating. And again, but kind of to your point, those are all songs that are in the movie, like in the movie proper. They're part of the freaking film, not a credit song, every single one of those. And they're all really catchy and fun and poppy or like emotionally affecting. And
Or Billie
God,
Eilish.
it's so yeah. They're just they're so good. And Diane Warren. All right.
Moving on. And no, this is not the last one we're going to talk about, but it is the next one, which is Best Picture.
Again, the sorting of these categories on the official Oscar website is
the
wild.
the official Oscar
Yeah.
website.
Oscars.org. You go to their website. This is the order they have the categories listed.
So we got American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Bye, Maestro. I want the Iron Claw here. Goodbye.
Dude, for real. Oh my God.
That legitimately is the only one that I really want to take out. I'm not mad about any of the other nine for me personally. There's other things I would put in instead,
Yeah, there's
but
other things I would put in. The other one I would maybe take out is American Fiction. I think American Fiction is really ambitious and has a lot of great things going for it. I'm kind of on the record. I think it's too disjointed. It's trying to do two very different things and it doesn't balance it well, especially with its runtime. I think a lot of it's a failure of marketing and expectations. I really need to give it another watch, and I
oh,
don't deny that.
people shouldn't watch the trailers before they go watch that
Yeah.
movie.
So I don't deny that that's impacted my perspective and opinion of the film. But with that said, I'm fine with everything except for yeah, Maestro. Maestro shouldn't be here. It just shouldn't. I would much rather have the Iron Claw here. I'd much rather have Godzilla minus one here. I'd rather have 20 Days in Mariupol here as a documentary. I'd rather have freaking Blackberry here than Maestro. And
I'm gonna
ugh,
be bold. John Wick Chapter 4.
I'd rather have John Wick Chapter 4 here. I think it's a better film.
But
And not by a little bit, by a significant amount.
with all that being said, though, Heath, which one are you picking?
Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer has been my number one film of the year since I saw it, since I walked out of the theater that day back in July. It's been over half a year since then, and it's still my favorite film. I've rewatched it multiple times since then. I'm more impressed with it every time I watch it. I think it's a masterpiece, and I think it is my favorite film of the year. I think it is the best film of the year, and I think it deserves to win Best Picture of the year.
It is my highest ranking film that's out of the 10 of these. So my pick's easy. It's Oppenheimer. The Iron Claw is my number one film from last year.
It's
But like,
so good. I think it's my number
but
five from last year.
like Oppenheimer is so this was the year of Nolan, and he's finally
Yep.
he's finally getting he made a 3 hour biopic about a scientist, one of the most dynamic and engaging movies, and it was R-rated, and somehow made almost $1 billion.
And it's still making money. It's still in theaters. It has not closed and is still week after week going up. It is incredible. Movies don't do that anymore. Like this isn't the 90s or the 70s. Like
No, and
movies
this
are
is
in
on
theaters for 2 months,
it's
3 months,
on
and then they're gone.
Peacock too.
Yeah.
Like it's already out on a streaming service. It took a while, but it's out on a
Yeah.
streaming service now. Okay, so we got some more here. We got production design. We have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Which one are you going with, Heath?
I'm going with Barbie. I mentioned earlier there are two categories where it's like Barbie took Wayne Zelinsky's enlarging machine from Honey, I Blew Up the Kids and just brought the toys to life. This is the other category. They literally like just took Barbie dream houses and Barbie cars and just made them bigger. Like they took the little toy this big and it was like, boop, here's a whole house. And
The
it's
word
wild. It is wild. It's so impressive the way they made everything look so plastic and fake, but still had texture to it. They actually caused a global shortage on pink paint because they had to build Barbie World. It's beyond impressive. Again, though, another category where I'd be pretty much fine with all of these winning. I'm sad Asteroid City didn't get a nomination here. I'd rather see Asteroid City over like Napoleon.
Yeah, I
Um,
probably would have done that.
and in fact, if Asteroid City's nominated here, then it'd be a real toss up between Barbie and Asteroid City as to what I would want. But of these nominees, I want Barbie.
We'll get to Wes Anderson soon. Um, mine would be Poor Things, and it's the same deal in terms of like they're two weird ones,
Yeah,
and like this steampunk aesthetic that they went with, the everything's so intricate about every place that she winds up going in this film, but it's I can't argue against Barbie because
yeah.
like my God, they literally made Barbie World come to life. It's insane. Animated short film, we have Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform Pachyderm, and War is Over! Exclamation point. Heath, which one is your pick?
Oh, give it the full title. Give it its due. War is over!
Sorry,
Exclamation point. Inspired by the music of John and Yoko.
I'm
So
picking
pandering.
I'm Hip, one of the two extra shorts that they threw on it when they were showing them in theaters.
Uh,
Um, no, which one are you actually
uh,
gonna?
I want and I think will win is the same, and that's Letter to a Pig. I
Yeah,
found to a Pig to be the most impactful. I thought the animation was the most unique and affecting. I thought it was a very emotional film, and it had a real message to it, especially about the loss of generational knowledge and the manipulation and twisting of generational knowledge and how important it is that we don't lose our history. So for all those reasons, I want Letter to a Pig to win, and I think it will.
special shout out to Tim Blake Nelson because I loved him
Yes.
in 95 Senses, but I'm also going Letter to a Pig. Live action short film The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, and the wonderful story of Henry Sugar.
I this one I really want red, white, and blue to win. This is the one that hit me the hardest, especially with the twist at the end of it. Um, I feel like I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. And when it did, I was like, oh, like, and here's the thing, I was already sold. I politically speaking, this is about abortion, and I'm not going to go into it further because I don't want to reveal things that happen in the film for those who haven't seen it. But I'm already pro-choice, women's bodily autonomy. That should be a thing. It's not even a question to me. So I'm not the target demographic of who you're trying to sell this idea of freedom of bodily choice on. And even still, when it got to that gut punch, I was of an ending, I was like, oh, it was damaging to me. Like I almost broke out in tears. It was incredibly affecting. So I really want red, white, and blue to win. I don't think it's going to at all. I think this is actually kind of a runaway category. But that's what I want to win.
I'm going to feel like a piece of shit for not picking that one. But you know what? I would like this movie should be a barometer for what kind of human being you are. Because if you watch that movie and it gets to that point and you don't have a gut wrenching reaction, you're a piece of shit.
I agree.
Sorry.
Like, no, very bluntly, if that doesn't impact you, or even a little bit, like slightly make you twinge and be like, ooh, like it doesn't make you think for even half a second, like, oh, I don't know if I, even if you do staunchly are pro abortion or pro life or whatever, you're very much against abortion. If like a part of you for half a second doesn't go, oh, that is uncomfortable, then you have like no soul. Like there's no way that doesn't affect you.
Agreed. But do feel like shit now, but I am picking the wonderful story of Henry Sugar.
Sure.
I am
That's
such a
that
huge
that is the
Wes Anderson.
runaway.
I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of Wes Anderson, and I read this book so much as a kid. And when I found out that they were dropping all those shorts in a week, I'm like, this is amazing. And when I sat and watched this, my eyes were wide open, my mouth was like just gaping open the whole time with just like this obnoxious smile on my face because I'm like, he did it. He made this come to life. And I don't think any filmmaker should make any more Roald Dahl adaptations except for Wes Anderson at this point. But like this one was so special. This is one of my top films of the year. I loved this so much. I think Foster and I were just sitting there on Letterboxd, and I'm like, big stars for like all these Roald Dahl short films that Wes Anderson made. So it did make me really happy when he goes up and wins that Oscar. But
It will
yes,
make me happy that Wes Anderson's winning. It will make me not happy that it took a short film for him to win
right
because he has deserved recognition before now that he has not received. I mean,
there, there
he's been nominated, don't get me wrong, but like, you know
there
what I
were
mean?
more awards that the Grand Budapest Hotel could have won. It won a decent amount. I would have given it more,
Yep.
but now we got sound. This is
Oh,
interesting.
one more thing about this category. Again, I know a lot of people don't care about the short films. I enjoy short films. I think it's atrocious. Every year there's one short film. It's usually from the live action short film category. Not always, but usually is. This year it is again, where there's one film where I'm like, how the hell was this nominated? I do not understand. Like one film that I would consider objectively bad, like not just bad, but like borderline horrible. And this year for me, it's The After. I do not
I saw that
understand this
coming.
film. I know some people, and I know you really liked it, so I apologize up front. But to me, the inciting incident at the beginning of this is so not believable, especially when we see the mom who just like, oh, I'm just gonna like a rag doll throw my body over it. Even just the way it's acted, it just looks so fake to me, and it takes me out of the whole thing that I could never get on board with it. The rest of the time, and it's 18 minutes long of him mourning, and I can't relate or to his mourning process or his grief whatsoever, because it's just so fake to me, and it bewilders me. And I I know you really liked it, but you're actually in the minority. Like when I look at ratings, most people really did not like the After, and I don't know why they keep doing this, especially when there's better stuff out there. On the short list, there was a film short called Yellow, about kind of like our uniform in animated, which is maybe why it didn't get the nomination, because they kind of cover the same topic of wearing the hijab in Iraq after the fall of the Iraqi government and the Taliban taking over. Or there's another film called An Avocado Pit, which was really beautiful, about a trans woman and a straight man who doesn't perceive himself as being comfortable with anything, falling in love with a trans woman, and that kind of dynamic and beautiful. Like there was just more stuff out there that I thought was better, that could have been represented. And I don't know why this keeps happening year after year. So I'll stop now. I apologize, especially because I know you liked it, and feel free to defend the After, but like, man, it blows
I
my
will
mind.
kick the After out for any other one of those Wes Anderson short films.
Yes, I would too. I would even rather have I would rather have like Poison or The Rat Catcher in here. Give Wes another nomination than
Oh my
have the
god.
After.
If short films got recognition for makeup,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Rat Catcher though. Oh, that was some creepy ass makeup. That was a
Yes.
creepy ass film. It's like, oh
Hmm.
my god, this is a Roald Dahl thing. Sound, The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part One, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. This is an interesting one. Heath, what's your pick?
This one, I know what I think will win, and I'll even go so far as to say this is one of the categories where I actually absolutely support Maestro getting a nomination, and I'm happy that it's here. But I 100% want Zone of Interest to win this. I think Zone of Interest largely works as a film and what it's trying to achieve because of its sound. In fact, I would go so far as to say this does not work if it's not for its sound design. If you do not hear the pop of gunfire, the train whistles, the crackling of fire, and you know what I'm talking about if you've seen this film, this does not work. The whole point of the film is that we're not supposed to see it, we're supposed to hear it, and how that affects us hearing it and not seeing it, being that close but doing nothing about it. That's the whole thematic point of the film. For that reason, I really desperately want Zone of Interest to win this. I don't think it's going to. And that's disappointing. But with that said, what I think will win this, Oppenheimer, I think is still immaculately designed when it comes to a sound. You know, the silence of the Trinity test interrupted by that violent explosion. The sound of sound waves crashing against each other. That film is doing a lot of impressive stuff too. The cathedral scene in Maestro, fantastic. Frankly, I would have loved to seen Ferrari get a nomination here. Ferrari, the uh, being in here instead of like the creator. Um, but for me, Zone of Interest is like by far and away what should win. I just unfortunately don't think it's going to.
It needed the sound. It is this like this is
Yes.
the sound based film,
Yes.
and it should be recognized for that. It's what the reason why I said this is so interesting is because the Zone of Interest is so reliant upon sound, and Oppenheimer has so much sound.
Yes.
There's like so much, and there's so many great things. But like the whole entire crux of Zone of Interest working is because of the sound and
Yes.
should be recognized.
Like this is one of those films where if Zone pulls up the upset, and I do think this is an upset watch, I think people will understand that literally the film does not work if it's not for its sound design. Like it
Mhm.
just categorically doesn't. And because of that, I think this is worthy of being on upset watch because I think Oppenheimer is the favorite. But if Zone wins and blows up my bracket, I will be so happy. I will be happy losing every Oscars pool I participated in if Zone wins this category because it deserves it.
We'll have to see. They wouldn't even give screeners at home because
Yeah.
they're like, you need to watch this in a theater with theater sound.
Yeah.
So it was that intense. Visual effects. The Creator, Godzilla Minus One, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. What's your pick?
Gojira. This wasn't even close.
This is interesting because I got so mad with the films from 2015. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I Ex Machina is one of my favorite films, but when that beat out like Fury Road for
Yeah,
visual effects and stuff, I'm like, are you serious?
yeah.
Why? Because it has a small budget, and then I'm completely going against that this time, and I'm like, how did Godzilla look this good with
Well, that's the thing. It's not just that it's a small budget and it's a great story, which it is a small budget and it is a damn good story. But Godzilla looks better than literally everything else on this list with a small budget. Like, in fact, I would even go so far as to say The Creator is the second best movie on this list, and it had the second smallest budget. The three
right?
biggest budgets are Napoleon, Mission Impossible, and Guardians, and they look worse than Creator and Godzilla. So, like, to me, it's Godzilla minus one, and it's not even close. I think it looks tremendous.
My favorite moment was when they asked the director, "How did you deal with 15 million?" And he laughed and was like, "I wish I had 15 million. It was closer to 13." I'm like,
Yeah, right?
"What?" I'm like, "You had even less money?"
But really, it's also a huge black eye on Hollywood. Now, I know that a lot of these artists were underpaid, they were overworked, a lot of horrible hours. I'm not saying that it was entirely fair because it wasn't, just objectively, it wasn't. And we should be paying VFX artists more. I'm glad a lot of them are starting to unionize, especially the Marvel ones. I know that was just in the trades a few months back. That's all terrific news. But it is embarrassing that Hollywood, Disney, Warner, all these big studios are dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the budgets of some of these films. And you know that tens of millions of those, tens and tens of millions, are going into VFX, and they look shittier than these films. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania objectively looks significantly worse than Godzilla Minus One and The Creator. And those were made for significantly less money. So, like, to me, there's no excuse
Made for
anymore.
less than, if you combine the two of them,
Yeah.
it'd still be less than half the budget that
Yeah. So,
Quantumania had.
like, to me, there's no excuse anymore. If we are capable of making films that look this brilliant, and again, they should be paid more. It shouldn't always be this cheap. Godzilla minus one shouldn't have been had to have been done on a $13 million VFX budget. But if that is what's we're capable of doing, then why the are we making films that look like they do in the MCU right now? Like, it's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel, Disney should be embarrassed. Warner Brothers, you should be embarrassed for how bad The Flash looks. Embarrassed.
But it was all on purpose.
Ugh. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
And we're down to two writing awards, and that's a wrap on this one. We have adapted screenplay, American Fiction, Barbie. Why? Oppenheimer, Poor Things in the Zone of Interest. Heath, what's your pick?
For me, this is actually Oppenheimer. This is a category again where I'm literally happy with anyone. Anyone winning this, I'm thrilled. I do think Barbie should have been an original, not adapted, whatever.
What written
But
work was this adapted from?
yeah, I mean, I know there's other Barbie like kids animated movies, just like there's, Tinkerbell movies in Peter Pan land, but like, come on. Clearly this story is not about the Barbie toys being princesses and movie stars and doctors together. Um, yeah, I want Oppenheimer to win this. Again, it kind of goes back to what we've talked about in other things where I just think the complexities of the dueling timelines, the dueling perspectives, flashing some events happening chronologically, some going in reverse chronological order, especially the sparring that takes place in that confirmation hearing, that closed door confirmation hearing in the third act.
Mhm.
I just think it's fascinating, and especially once you learn that the script was written in first person, which is wild that they would do that. But yeah, and by they I mean Christopher Nolan. But
And
yeah,
printed on red and black ink.
yeah. So
It's the
For me,
coolest
I want
looking script.
Oppenheimer to win this, and I think it will.
Agreed. This is a complex, like the way, like this is uh nuclear Cold War paranoia social network.
Yep,
And
and that's awesome.
yeah, and it played out really great. Original screenplay: Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May, December, and Past Lives.
For this one, I'm going Anatomy of a Fall. I'm a sucker for a legal drama, courtroom drama. Kind of why I like Oppenheimer, although it's not in a technical courtroom. We do get scenes of a confirmation hearing behind closed doors. We do get a congressional, presidential cabinet hearing in the House in Congress. So you still kind of get that lawyer
Mm-hmm.
sparring back and forth vibe.
Oh,
But
Jason Clarke.
Anatomy of a Fall ratchets it up to 11, especially because the French court system is wild compared to the American court system and some of the things they can say or can do. And that's just the legal scenes, let alone like the really intricate tete-a-tete, the debate between Sandra Hüller and I forget the actor who plays the husband, but like the fight that they have in their kitchen, some of the conversations they're having with the son, just some really engaging stuff here. My second, there's actually another category except for Maestro. I don't think Maestro should be here, frankly. I would like to see the Iron Claw here. Moving on. Um, but I'd be fine with anyone else winning this. I would love the holdovers. I would love past lives. I would love May December. Any of those winning, I think would be great. Probably I would prefer past lives. I think that's just a really special screenplay. But Anatomy of a Fall is the one that I want to win.
I think this is interesting because there's a lack of weird scripts. And like usually that's the fun thing about like original screenplays. You
Yeah.
can get some really weird
May
specific
December
ones
is the closest, I would say.
in a year where there's not really weird.
Yeah.
Because like this is like you have like Jojo Rabbit and Get Out and Everything Everywhere
Black
All at Once.
Klansman. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm going with Anatomy of a Fall as well.
Yeah.
Really well written. And like that's the thing. A lot of these really lived on the script and how well written they were. And Anatomy of a Fall's wild, wild ride. And hopefully people check this out a lot more now that it's getting a lot of the recognition that it is. And that was a journey through all
Yep.
the Academy Awards and what we want to win. Now, the question is, what will win? And you'll have to tune in to the Oscars on March 10th to find that out. But Heath, thank you so much for coming on and taking this journey with me.
Thanks for having me, Shane. I really do appreciate it. I always love talking Oscars. I'm down for this at any time.
Oh, I know you do, which is why this is an open invitation for next year, too.
I'll be
But
back.
thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.